Over the course of his career, M. Night Shyamalan has been kind of up and down. He's had absolute bangers, like The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, some pretty good ones like Signs, and then some not so great ones, and then some absolutely terrible ones.
What? No.
But he's also been kind of promising. Now, Glass was awful.
Yeah.
But Split was pretty good. Old, not so much. The Visit, not so much. But all of his movies recently have kind of been devoid of that sense of self-importance that some of his earlier work had. Sixth Sense was great, Unbreakable was great, but movies like Lady in the Water, for example, have this air of self-importance to the point of complete arrogance that's really off-putting. And a couple other of his movies have that because the man got named like the next Steven Spielberg really early into his career, and there's no way that can't go to your head, and it clearly did. Now he seems to have kicked that, which I personally like. Even if I haven't loved a lot of his recent stuff, I've liked that it is more honest, at least. And Trap feels like the culmination of his recent work. It's not as serious as something like A Knock on the Cabin, but it's not as weird and goofy as something like Old was. It strikes a pretty interesting balance for a serial killer stuck in a Taylor Swift concert, which is unfortunately only the first half, and we can talk about that more later, because the first half is really good. I really enjoyed the first half of this film because it's not too serious. It's not too dramatic. In fact, it's pretty goofy. There's some really goofy one-liners, there's some really goofy action set pieces, there's some really goofy stuff that goes on, and I think it really helps and benefits the film overall by taking this kind of lighthearted tone, at least in the first half. Because without it, a lot of these big moments in it would probably fall completely on their face. There's one in particular where he is going to this deep fryer to try and make some kind of a explosion, some kind of a scene, so that he can dig more information out of the moment. And he goes to the deep fryer, he peeks over the thing, and then it cuts to his hand turning it up as high as it'll go, and then someone coming around and seeing that he put bottles in there, glass bottles. They explode and cause a scene so he can get out. And that moment, my cynical brain turned on, and I went, there's like 30 people in line, and workers. How did no one see him? How did no one identify him going behind the counter and saying, that's weird? And then someone pointing out, hey, that guy did that. My cynical brain turned on. And then he went up to this roof and got so goofy, Josh Hartnett did, that my brain turned right back off. That switch between something serious but something very goofy kept this film from being too much one way or too much another way. And I loved that tightrope it walks. I think without that goofiness of Josh Hartnett going up to the roof and being like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a breakdown, this was so insane, it was just too much, someone got really hurt and scarred up there, oh my gosh, I have to take a minute, don't tell my boss that I took a break. That type of goofiness put right next to somebody getting scarred by exploding bottles in a deep fryer that no one saw him turn the heat up on makes it work. Without that moment of goofiness, though, I think it would have failed. Many, many moments like that would have failed. Because if you take them too seriously, then you have to kind of justify them more. For example, some of his other films, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Lady in the Water, Signs, all those movies have a much less lighthearted tone. A lot of them are more serious, they're more dramatic, they're more horror-centric. And when you do that, they have to be more grounded. They have to be more in reality. And this movie immediately shuns reality by saying, there is a serial killer who butchers people, but he's going to a Madison Beer concert.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay, Dad.
And that's such a goofy premise that some of the goofy things that happen, I'm totally fine with. My cynical brain does turn on from time to time and go, okay, that is pushing it, you're pushing it, but then it brings it right back with something stupid happening, which I liked. I liked how kind of schlocky this movie is. I like that he went and stole a police walkie-talkie, and the literal second he put it in, they are giving exposition that he needed to know.
This individual that we're searching for won't panic.
I love that. He's not like going in halfway into, all right, yep, I got the bathroom clear, we're all good. It was like, I am the director of the FBI, and I'm looking for a man approximately this age and this height, and he might have a tattoo on his right wrist. And then Josh Hartnett's like, and he's got a tattoo, and then he just puts like a wristband over it as if nobody would take the wristband off. That's so funny. I actually was laughing more than I care to admit in this movie, multiple times out loud, because of Josh Hartnett's performance, because of some really goofy camera work and really goofy editing. There's one moment when he's whispering something to someone, and she's like, I won't do anything, and it hard cuts to him and his family sitting down on couches, and I laughed out loud. It was so funny. So I give this movie a lot of credit for that. It actually is pretty funny, and it offsets some of the stupidity of it. The first half really has that lightning in a bottle, though. I really love movies that are just characters figuring their way out of something. And this is like a guy who is being put in a corner that is being forced to claw and fight his way out of it and do anything he can to figure it out. And I liked that aspect of it. Again, it gets goofy. It pushes things where he's talking to vendors and they're allowing him to come into the back and sharing the secret of what password they need to use if they get stopped by cops. And then he like gets super lucky and it reaches in an apron that he coincidentally grabbed and gets a card that shows the cops that he's chill. Super weird, lucky, coincidental, convenient things that would have failed in any other movie. But I love that the whole first half of this is just him doing anything he can to get out of this situation, and I think that was so much fun. His relationship with his daughter, though, is a big part of the first half, because he has to balance going and trying to find a way out while trying not to set off his daughter and be a good dad to her, because he does clearly love her and want to be there for her, and that's ultimately the thematic of the movie that we learn about more in the second half that I wish was explored a little bit more, but we can talk about that soon.
So like working and collaborating with your dad, I mean, how thin is the line between father-daughter and collaborators?
I mean, I guess there isn't really a line. It's all kind of one and the same. And, you know, this project, we kind of came up with this idea together, and it was very father-daughter kind of collaboration from the beginning.
We don't get much of it, but it seems like his own parent, his own mom, was one that identified that he was not normal and made him feel bad for it. And that may have pushed him into a bad area, you know, killing people. It's pretty bad. But we don't get that much of it, and I wish there was more. I wish there was more between him and his daughter as well, especially in the second half. Most of the second half fails to live up to what the first half sets up, and it fails to keep capitalizing on the momentum of that first half. Because largely, the first half of the film is him outsmarting the cops, him trying to figure out ways out of a situation. The second half, though, is like someone outsmarts him, and then he outsmarts them, and then they outsmart him, and then he outsmarts them, and then they outsmart him, and he outsmarts them. And it just keeps going like that for 45 minutes, and it got kind of exhausting. The midpoint of the movie is him escaping the concert, and that was unfortunate because, again, the concert's the best part. I understand why M. Night Shyamalan did it, because you can't sustain an entire film at just a concert. You know, 45 minutes even was starting to push it. There's a moment when his daughter goes up on stage and starts singing with, what is her name? Raven Black or something? Lady Raven. She's like dancing and having fun, and it pretty much plays out the whole song. And I just was like, could this move along, please? And that's what I felt throughout large chunks of the second half. Could we just move along? It just feels kind of indecisive. What ending should we have? Should it be happy? Should it be sad? Should it be somewhere in the middle? There's like 4 or 5 different times. It's Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, indecisive-ass ending all over again. But far worse because it doesn't feel like an epilogue. It feels as if this just doesn't know where to end. He goes to such lengths to get out of the concert, he ends up telling Lady Raven, this Madison Beer type character, that he is the killer, and if she does anything, he's going to kill this person he has hostage. So he's using the guy as a bargaining chip. But this woman, this Lady Raven woman, knows that his daughter loves her so much that she can really push the bounds. So there's this constant back and forth, this chess match almost between her and him, to the point where it just started to lose me. It's this constant flip-flopping between, oh, he's going to be caught, oh, he got away, oh, he's going to be caught, oh, I got away. It was just, oh, I outsmarted you, and you outsmarted me. It was a lot of and then moments. It doesn't feel like it's really progressing anything.
You're acting weird.
I get what M. Night Shyamalan's trying to do. There's a lot of loose threads that aren't cleaned up before that last 20 minutes of ping-ponging between who's going to win, me, you, me, you, me, you. Because there's the mom that they have to wrap up the mom of the serial killer, there's the family of the serial killer, there's his wife, there's this FBI agent that's a profiler, and then you have to decide if he's going to get caught or not. You have to decide if they're going to do the guest ending where the killer gets away, or if the killer gets killed, or he gets captured and taken into custody. So what ends up happening is you have all these threads that need to be tied up, and it struggles to tie them up in satisfactory ways. And in fact, the weirdest part is that it makes it unambiguously clear that this father character, the butcher, does genuinely love his family, and he has this monologue about how he's so angry at his wife for giving him up. And his whole monologue is like, I'm angry at you, wife, not because you gave me up, but because I won't see Logan grow up, and I won't see Riley grow up. I'm pissed off at you, and I'm gonna kill you for it. And it is so strange that that was the choice to kind of wrap up the thematic of he had a bad childhood and he hates his mom, but he loves his kids. I don't know if it works or if it's actually that interesting. I'm just not sure there's enough character for the butcher there to be interesting. Where he's, I'm in love with my kids, they're so great. Oh, I hate my wife now. She's such a stupid bitch. But I love my kids. I'm so mad at her for not letting me see them again. I'm just not sure that works. The whole second half feels like just a bunch of gotcha moments. It doesn't even have the illusion of anything else. There's not even that much goofiness in the second half. It kind of gets a little bit too serious, I would say. There's one character, the vendor man, who is one of the funnier aspects of the first half, and he doesn't make an appearance at all in the second half except for a weird mid-credit scene that's like just kind of cute, but there's no character, there's no moment, there's no real editing in that second half that's really funny or goofy to kind of take away that feeling of harshness of all of these little gotcha moments. It's just Josh Hartnett kind of succumbing to his evil, trying to get away like a stray dog from these FBI agents that are constantly nipping at his heels. And that's ultimately what was most frustrating about this, is that the tone was so perfect in that first half, and then it kind of squandered it in the second half. It became more of a knock at the cabin kind of dramatic movie. This isn't exactly a movie where I'm looking for any great character depth. It's not anything that I'm expecting super high art from. M. Night Shyamalan is making a genre movie, and he does an okay job at it. I wish that it was more in genre. I wish he really pushed it a little bit more. I just kind of missed Josh Hartnett doing anything he can to get out of this trap in the first half. He's putting on all these different characters. He's putting on all these different faces, these voices, these weird things he does to get into certain places. And in the second half, it was just, look, we gotcha, because he was in the house and then we cut away and suddenly he's there. It wasn't showing how he did anything anymore. It wasn't showing the weird faces that he puts on to get out of situations. It was just, oh, he's in the front seat, and Lady Raven gets out, and he looks at a pile of clothes, and then it cuts away to the FBI, and they're looking in the car, and in the back of your mind, you know, he's not in there. Yeah, okay, he got out. He used those clothes, he got out, he's in the crowd. But it holds on it for like 5 minutes. We're gonna shoot you, get out of the car, I'm gonna shoot you. And then they shoot, and they open the car, he's not in here, he's part of the crowd, and then it cuts to him in the clothes, and in this like side profile shot, and he walks away. And I'm like, okay, but he just put on some clothes. Like, you couldn't have him put on like a southern accent to get out of it or something, man.
Maybe surprise me.
Sounds lovely.
Not that that adds character, but it's just something fun for the character, and no one else really even is close to having depth. The most that you can say for him is that he's really good at lying, and he's really good at putting on a show, and he's really good at being a killer. The rest of the characters are just there for plot convenience, plot devices, MacGuffin's sake, and the story, while really fun at times, is mostly just a kind of gimmicky thing, at least for one half, and then it turns into a really standard police procedural gotcha serial killer movie. It's strange, and it's unfortunate how it turned out, because I was really looking forward to how it was going to end. It was one of the first M. Night Shyamalan movies in quite some time where I genuinely had no idea where it was going to go. It just kept taking these twists and turns and these crazy narrative change-ups where I was like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know where he's going to leave it. I don't know if it's going to be a good ending or a bad ending, or if there's going to be some insane twist that he throws in, M. Night Shyamalan style. I was genuinely curious and interested and on the edge of my seat even at some points to see where it was going to go, and then it just kind of peters out. It was really disappointing, especially for a movie that you don't expect characters in, so you expect a fun story. And I got a fun story for some of it, but not for all of it. And it's really well executed, too. It's one of M. Night Shyamalan's better-looking movies in quite some time. There's some really good sound design. There's some really good music choices, not just from, like, the actual pop star music, but the actual orchestral stuff is pretty fun, too. The performances are really good. This is, like, a home run on paper. It should have been, and yet it just really falls apart. So I'm looking forward to what M. Night will do, though. I'm constantly on his side. I really look forward to anything he does. I think he is a very talented filmmaker that unfortunately got a little bit too big for his britches at one point and had to hit rock bottom so that he could come back up. I'm looking forward to see what he's doing. He seems to be on the come up. I enjoyed this movie. I would recommend it. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. I just think for me, I won't see it again. Because of what I've mentioned, especially in that second half. It gets kind of tiring. It's 2 hours long, and it felt like 2.5. So, yeah, M. Night, is he back? Sort of.